Welcome to the Boss Ladies Breakroom, the financial literacy series, brought to you by Boss Lady Miss Camay, who will educate, inspire, and empower you to take action in building generational wealth and protecting your assets with trust documents.
Welcome to the break room, everybody. Welcome. This is the Boss Ladies Break Room, the financial literacy series. My name is Miss Camay. I am your host. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing a fellow boss lady that I have known for, I'm really going to date myself here and age myself here. But I've known this boss lady, I think since junior high school. Ms. Toni Rayborn, the fabulous Toni Rayborn herself. She's actually my favorite cheerleader. And I'm going to explain all of that when we get into the interview. Today in the break room, we are going to talk about insurance. We're going to talk about all things insurance, why it's important to have it, if you're a business owner, the type of insurance that you potentially need. And then also, we talk about here in the break room, building generational wealth and protecting our assets and trust documents. So we're going to talk about how insurance can help us do that, right? So we're going to get to know this boss lady on the other side of the camera and all about her business as an entrepreneur as soon as we come back from this short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Did you know that 46% of mobile shoppers are likely to buy a product or service from a verbal ad when it's relevant to the content that they're viewing? It's responsible for capturing attention, creating interest, and persuading your target audience.
You know, it's about every woman having their unique experience. When you're on that vibroacoustic sound equipment, women go into their own world.
Let the Boss Ladies Break Room put your company in the spotlight. Visit my website at misscamayinternational.com, click the Contact tab, and fill out the form listing sponsor ad spot in the subject line. And let us create a sponsor ad for you, your company, or service or product that you sell, which will be featured in our series. Partner with us for a greater reach to those who need you.
So welcome back to the break room. I am your host, Miss Camay. And I want to introduce you guys to a fellow boss lady of mine. I told you guys at the beginning of the break room that I've known this boss lady, Toni Rayborn, since we were in junior high school. And, back then, I was just a young kid. I was raised overseas in Greece and Italy. And we came back to the States, and I came to America and went to American school after being in Greece and Italy. And this amazing woman was a friend to everyone. Everyone knew who she was. Everybody loved her. She has this infectious laugh, this $1 million smile. She became a cheerleader when we got into junior high school. And that's the story. She's been my favorite cheerleader since then. She came to my 16th birthday party. I will never, ever forget this. I think her and I were the only girls, the only ladies, right, at my birthday party. And that wasn't how I invited everybody. I invited men, guys and girls, right, and some of the guys on the football team, like the popular guys. And I was thinking that, all the ladies were going to show up to my birthday party, and it was just kind of going to be all us. But that is not what happened. Toni and I were the only ladies that were at my 16th birthday party with all of the football players. We had Kevin Pratt, Rob Saxton, Oh my gosh, I can't even remember their names, but it was like 6 or 7 of the football players and me and my favorite cheerleader, Toni Rayborn. To the break room, Toni. Do you remember that 16 birthday party?
Well, all I remember is that your smile is as infectious as you say mine is, and the odds of all these nice, intelligent, and athletic, beautiful men, 2 women, we were good.
Of course we were. We were boss ladies. We were boss ladies then, like we're boss ladies now, right?
That's good.
Well, welcome to the break room, Toni. I'm so honored to have you here. Today, I want to highlight you. I want to highlight your business. I want you to talk to our audience about your business, your life, your career as an entrepreneur. Okay.
Okay.
So you are the CEO, sales, marketing, insurance specialist. You're an independent broker. Okay, very important word here. You're an independent broker and advisor at Rayborn Risk Management Solutions, LLC. You partnered with Greenholt Anderson Insurance Consultants Company, where the focus is on business owners. And I love this. I love that your focus is on business owners. I know that over the years, I've directed and referred some clients to you for insurance needs, as well as you have referred clients to me for estate planning documents. And so your focus is on business owners. And that's what the break room talks about, is building generational wealth and protecting assets with trust documents for that small business entrepreneur owner. Your mission, I want to talk about this because knowing you personally, right? Knowing you as your childhood cheerleader stalker here, your mission is also your personal ethics code. And this is so important for us as small business owners and entrepreneurs, is our ethics, and how we conduct ourselves as business professionals. Your success comes from hard work ethics, passion, and drive to succeed, and compassion to help protect your clients by identifying risks that they're not aware of. Like key point there. And again, that's what we're going to talk about here today. You go above and beyond, and that's a fiber that runs through you. And me knowing you personally, that is absolutely who you are. You have always been that way. Even in high school when you were cheerleading, if you saw somebody getting picked on, or you saw somebody, being left out, like you were quick to go and address it. So you do have this passion and compassion and empathy for your community around you. Building long-lasting, strong relationships using exemplary communication is key to positive impact, growth, and retention. Your greatest strength is never giving up, compromising clients' coverage for your own personal gain. Your goal is to save your clients time, money, and help mitigate financial hardships while understanding their needs and adjusting coverage when it's in their best interest. So talk to our audience about that, mitigating financial hardships while understanding your clients' needs and adjusting their coverage. So talk to them a little bit. What does that mean?
Well, the first part of it is, like you said, I've always been an advocate for people and passion for people. And so how I gotten started in the insurance industry, just even initially, is that I had a car accident, and with being on my parents' policy, didn't know anything about insurance. I sent my family into financial hardship because months later of medical bills and so forth. If I would have known that my father, who I was on his policy, his agent could have given us a single consultation of educating me as a new driver, what my coverages did, how they worked for me, we probably wouldn't have had the state minimums at the time. We would have been able to afford the medical expenses that came about. So from that point on, I was almost bedridden for a year and a half. And I had all this debt for medical expenses. So from there, it became my passion to not only be an advocate and educate people about how their insurance works for them, what it does, but also to make sure that they know the importance of why they even have insurance. I mean, they've built their whole life to build a legacy for their next generations. And so that was a huge key element. And I'm still trying to educate and communicate with people today on the importance of not just a copy and paste or apples to apples give you a quote, but I want to learn a whole spectrum of who you are and what you're doing on a daily basis. People will ask me all the time, why do you need to know about if I'm doing volunteer work or if I participate on a board of directors? Well, there's liability exposures that come from a lot of different things that we are doing or might not even realize that we're doing, that we're putting ourselves at risk for. And so it's a good way of me to saying, hey, I want to look at everything that you have, everything that you're doing, and I want to align those with safety documents, like how you prepare for your documents, and make sure that everything that is in that person's daily living is streamlined and it's all protected properly and legally. So
thank you for sharing that personal experience. Oftentimes in life, personal experiences turn into our testimony, right? And they become our passion and our dedication, you know, in life. So thank you so much for sharing that. So talk to a little bit to our audience about why an entrepreneur. Why did you choose, you know, pursuing an entrepreneurial career path versus, you know, a job, essentially? And not that there's anything wrong with getting a job or having an employer. Those are great funding sources, oftentimes provide great insurance benefits, right, when you're an employee. But why an entrepreneurial, you know, independent career choice? Why?
Well, from when I was a child, my mom always told me every peasant can become a president. And just because you're not a CEO right now doesn't mean you can't be a CEO of any part of your life at any time that you choose. Don't get caught up in the paralysis analysis and trying to know everything all at once. And then that's your gate of blocking you to actually put whatever you learn into action. But you got to start somewhere. Find your passion, whatever that passion is. Mine happened to be people. It happened to be speaking. It happened to be communicating. And it happened to be now with, an easy car accident, insurance, educating people on something that might come across as an industry as very boring. Nobody wants it, but everybody should have it. And so I had to start at ground level. And I think that's key, is it doesn't matter where you start, as long as you start and you got a passion for it. You might find different areas within starting at a company and learning the basics. I had to learn what insurance was.
Right. And getting paid to learn, right? Getting paid to learn.
And so throughout my career, almost 30 years in the insurance industry and property and casualty, I learned, I can focus on personal assets, your automobiles, your properties, your recreational vehicles, watercrafts. But I also know that homeowners also own their own businesses. And so that employee and their businesses. So then I worked and focused on affinity groups, corporations, and educating corporations and all of their employees. Then it came to the point where it was, middle level to high net worth. And maybe in the state that I was in at the time, focusing on just one state. But why can't I focus on multiple states? Because many times owners of businesses are in multiple locations.
Correct.
Kind of just took the next step. Once I got familiar, once I had enough experience and felt comfortable and confident in my metrics as a salesperson to take it to the next level and go above and beyond. Now, not just personal assets, but businesses, and everything from the structure of a building down to the employees and the equipment inside of it. And so I wanted not to be stagnant, and I had a lot of different folks coming to me saying, I would love for you to provide me a whole portfolio review of my insurance, but I live out of the state that you have your license in. Mm-hmm. So just to me as a business entrepreneur, I said the next level really is the smartest, and that's to become independent. And that is to really focus on the business owner and have the advocate for their needs, their risks that they're doing in their business, and making sure that everything is addressed and being able to present that information to that business owner, and letting them decide ultimately if they want to pursue having this coverage or not. And if they chose not to, then that's on them. But I have to educate them, because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know.
Yes. Yeah. So, and that's what we're here to do in the break room. We are here to educate, inspire, and empower our audience to take action in building generational wealth and protecting their assets with trust documents. So you were made for this break room. You were made for this, Toni.
Well, so, it's a great way, because the independency for myself is to help really anybody. It's the business owner, but also their children, because their legacy is going to be passed down to their kids and their kids. And it's friends of friends. And just because you might be starting out in college, you might just be graduating and now, need a renter's insurance policy. Mm-hmm. Also have aspirations to go into business, or you have friends and family and friends. So it's all a networking and referral process.
Right.
So like you said, every peasant can become the president. We didn't know that I was going to say, hey, Miss Camay, in the 7th grade, I'm going to be nice to you because, 30 years later, you're owning your own business. And now, I want to look at your insurance. It's about long-term relationships and always striving to have the best interest of somebody else above yours, because ultimately the finances will follow you when you got that best interest at heart.
Yeah. Yeah. So that brings me to the highlight, I would say, of the interview today in the break room with you. So you recently were here in Vegas, you and your boyfriend. We need to bring him into the break room and be the first boss man to come into the break room and talk investments, because we got some game from him when we had lunch at the Pepper Mill together, you and myself and my husband, and we couldn't take notes fast enough talking to that guy. I see why the two of you are together. I get it. But in your recent visit to Vegas, we ended up in this conversation, talking, real estate, investments, insurance. And so I'm well insured, right? And because I work in insurance defense litigation and I work in law, I understand how valuable insurance is, and how important it is to have insurance that you don't need versus not having the insurance that you do need. And so making sure that, our home is insured, making sure that our vehicles are insured. And not only that our vehicles are insured, that's kind of a whole nother, I guess, kind of, milkshake within itself, because there's so many aspects of auto insurance and so many other avenues of auto insurance to cover, personal injury protection, car replacement coverage. Something, that we actually just was revealed to us just recently because of an accident that my husband had, right? And his car was totaled. So there are so many different, ingredients in that whole milkshake of insurance, as you're explaining, to really make sure that your clients are covered, and that their assets are insured, because that's what's building generational wealth. Mm-hmm. for generations to come, and then also protecting those assets with trust documents, right? So I had asked you, and you had offered, hey, let me take a look essentially at your portfolio, what insurances you have. I've got business insurance. I serve under bonds as a notary and as a document preparer, right? But those are very different from business insurance, right? From liability insurance. And so you wanted to take a look at, what we currently have. And life insurance for us is insurance that we don't currently have. My husband and I were actually getting ready to celebrate our 5-year anniversary. May 2025 is our 5-year anniversary. And so as we've been building our empire, essentially, and building our assets and buying our home and working, the business, the time has come. And that husband of mine, I love my husband. There's so many things about him, our reasons why I married him, but I need a lot of life insurance on that guy. A lot. I don't know so much about me, but him, yes. But that's essentially why I wanted to look at, wanted you to look at our portfolio and see if you could get us better coverage for essentially the same premium or even less, right? We all want to save money, especially now with the way that the things are going in our country, but to have more coverage for the same price is a big flex as well, right?
Yeah.
So in our initial kind of conversation when we're talking about life insurance, and I just want to focus on that because I feel like our community really needs to be educated and inspired and empowered regarding life insurance because it is such an asset to generational wealth, in my opinion. And so, in the conversation about life insurance, you're asking the question, what does your driving record look like? Do you have, felony driving convictions at all, period? You didn't give me essentially a time frame because those things, although they don't necessarily count against you, but they never go away, right? They're always going to be there. So that was a question, how many, do you have misdemeanor or felony driving convictions ever? Do you have a criminal past? Have you been, convicted of misdemeanors or convicted of felonies, even if it's 15, 20, 25 years ago, right? So talk to our audience a little bit specifically about life insurance and kind of those pre-qualifiers, if you will. Also, there was question in there about our health, what medications we are taking currently, how much we're taking, how long we're taking it, what we're taking it for. So talk to our audience about that aspect of it, why it's so important, because I feel like, as we journey along in life, we're not necessarily thinking about the future, especially our younger generation, right? And I'm guilty of it as well. When I was 20, 30 years old, I definitely was not having the conversations then that I'm having now. I wasn't thinking about having life insurance, in my 20s and 30s. So talk to our audience about that, the importance of your life, your health, your driving record, your criminal, background, essentially, and why that plays a role in life insurance, why those questions are asked, because sometimes people kind of get uncomfortable and they don't necessarily want to maybe have that conversation with an insurance broker, but why is it necessary?
Well, it's necessary. It all really boils down to choices that we make, whether we're a youthful operator or youthful adult. And it does carry into however old we are. And it's not only reflective on premiums for life insurance, but it's also the market in insurance is changing. And so it also has a play on your personal insurance, your auto, your home insurance. For instance, credit scores. In the insurance industry, we do what's called a soft mark. We don't look necessarily, or the carriers don't look at how much money you have in the bank. They look at a habitual pattern Are you late on payments? And if you are, then that might mean that you're in a higher classification, which ultimately to you, the client or the insured, would mean that you might have to pay more for insurance on your premiums. Nowadays, there are insurance carriers that will say, if you're not in the first 3 different tiers, we don't even want to take this and offer you a quote or insurance.
Wow.
So what that means to you is that you might not be a bad person. You might have made different choices that are not preferred, whatever the case may be. But they're looking at an actual aerial standpoint, statistical. So I'm not classifying everybody, but for the majority, and this is how there's over 1,000 different ratings. But let's just, for easy example, there's different tiering that a carrier, they're all filed with the Department of Insurance. It's all for public knowledge on how a carrier will rate somebody. If they see that there is a pattern of behavior of missed payments, they will say, okay, Miss Camay, if you're late on this payment for the last 5 months, or you're defaulting on a payment, or you filed bankruptcy, then how are you going to afford the insurance? And do we want to take that risk on? Because if you don't take the time to make the payment on time, what else are you doing that for? Or what responsibilities maybe are you saying, oh, it's okay, it's just this? And so it leads to, maybe with that, say that you don't mind just filing a claim. And then there are these small claims that add up and add up and add up. Insurance companies obviously are for profit. They want to make money. They're there to support you, to make you whole. But nowadays, because it's a little bit more challenging market, they're saying there are a lot of different things, your credit, for instance, and how habitual you are. If you're more responsible to pay on time, then maybe you're more responsible knowing that maybe you're being educated on the proper limits of insurance to have, or what not to file if it's under $1,000 because any minor damage. So there's that part of it. The driving records. People might not know, in some states, if you drive over 20 miles over the speed limit, that is considered a felony. So if you have a felony on your record, whether it's auto insurance or life insurance, any kind of insurance really, and you don't disclose that or discuss that with your agent, the carrier could give you the insurance and charge the premium, but you might be paying that premium for 20 years and then something happens. Then the carrier can come back and say, oh, well, guess what? We might deny this claim because 20 years ago on your application, you said that you never had a bankruptcy. You said you never had a felony, and we're seeing that you have. So sometimes they can go back 20 years and charge you all up front for one lump sum before they even pay your claim out. If it's a fatality type situation, they're gonna find ways of saying, okay, we just want to make sure that we're getting our ducks in a row. They also can say, you know what, we're not going to offer insurance at renewal time for you. Or they could say, we're going to just not non-renew you. And there might be 20 other carriers that normally would have also offered you insurance, but now because they've denied you coverage and you don't disclose that, it's a bad reflection on you as the client or the insured. And so now companies take a look at that. So let's just say that you forgot about that, the 5 traffic violations, and you didn't really care in the last 5 years. Insurance companies they'll run different reports, motor vehicle reports and so forth. And they will say, okay, now we're going to tie this to, maybe they disregard the law. So therefore we don't need to, insure this type of risk.
Right.
So
And that's the key word there, the risk, right?
The
Because
risk.
insurance companies, like you said, they're in the business of collecting premiums, not paying claims.
Yep.
And in any business, right? So even as a small business entrepreneur, you have to be doing a business analysis and a cost of risk, essentially, assessment. And so if you're engaged in business that has a high risk to it, you really have to assess that, because that's putting your business at risk. So this isn't something a business practice or the foundation of business for these major, big, huge corporations, right? That's
Right.
the same type of foundation that I as a small business owner, I have to assess, because my profit margin is much smaller than a big organization, right?
Mhm.
So it's all about the risk. So great point there, and key
So
word for people to understand.
the risk also could be, do you every weekend or every other weekend go bungee jumping? Well, if you don't disclose that on certain life applications, that
Mm-hmm.
is something that a insurance carrier will say, well, they're a little bit higher risk than somebody that doesn't go bungee jumping and
Yeah.
could fall, or mountain climbing, or if you're involved with car racing, something that's deemed a specialty field. There's specialty insurance carriers that will insure that, but for the majority, there are certain questions that we as agents or independent advisors will ask. And what happens is, because this is a litigious society, if my clients divulge anything to me and I don't divulge that to the insurance company, that, oh,
Mhm.
yes, I did talk to this client and they did say they were, bungee jumping, probably 5 months out of the year,
Mhm.
then that is also my reputation and my license that is at risk.
Yeah.
So not only could the insurance company deny a claim for that person, but their family could come after me because you didn't educate me that bungee jumping wasn't allowed, or if it's in
Mhm.
the small print in your policy, it says you can have life insurance, but you can't do this, and this
Right.
for a payout. So there's a lot of different factors. So it's about choices. But let's just go back to, let's just say that you do have multiple incidences, tickets, or accidents. There are
Mhm.
carriers that will allow for that, but they will also tier you in a different classification to absorb more premiums for you, to make sure that there is a higher amount of money in the pool to pay out on a claim, because more likely you're the category that they will have to pay out claims on. So
Mm.
instead of, in the past, there might be 20 carriers that will insure you. Well, now if you have so many claims within a small amount of window, say
Mm.
up to 3 claims in 3 years,
Yeah.
there are companies now that won't offer you quotes, period.
Yeah.
So your choices, what you do today, do affect what you're doing and how you're disclosing that. So, I pretty much just say, I want to learn everything about you and
Mhm.
give you the best coverage I can for whatever it is that you're doing. And so I
Yeah.
need to know all the elements to what you're doing, so I can find the carrier that will have that specialty niche for you, if you have a specialty niche hobby or special, work. So
Yeah. Yeah. Great point there that you made.
mhm.
My husband and I had that exact scenario when my mother-in-law passed away, when my husband's mother passed away. And she did have life insurance, which a family member helped her apply for. And when his mom passed away, him and his sister, were expecting this life insurance payout. And I remember telling my husband, like, don't don't spend that money until until the check comes. Because right now they are looking for evidence or documentation or proof of any reason not to pay out this life insurance claim. And unfortunately, that is absolutely what happened on the life insurance application for his mother. There was a question, just a simple question: have you been hospitalized like in the last 2 years, or admitted into the hospital in the last 2 years? I think was the question. And just a simple question: hey, have you been admitted to the hospital? Because going to the emergency room versus being admitted into the hospital, those are two completely different experiences, right? Usually when you're admitted to the hospital, like it's a big deal. It's not anything small, essentially. And so the question was answered no, and which in fact his mother had been hospitalized within that 2-year time frame. So 3 years later, she passes away. They go back to that application. They pull, of course, her medical records, from her doctors and her physicians. And I'm telling you guys, I work in insurance defense litigation. I look at people's medical records all day long, and everything is in your medical records. Everything. Unless you specifically tell your doctor, don't put this in my record, don't make this a record, what I'm telling you, this is off the record. Everything they talk to you about, everything you tell them is going in your medical records, everything. And so in this particular situation, the insurance company denied, the life insurance claim, essentially. And so it doesn't pay in the end to not be transparent and not be forthcoming about your situation, because like you've said, there are potentially, as a broker, so you as a broker, you have access to many insurance companies, many types of different policies, top tier, I forget what they call it. Maybe you can help me. Like
there's standard and then specialty. So
yes.
Preferred rating, and then there is something that's a specialty. It might be a little bit more higher risk, something. So, and there's like caveats, but yes, you're
right.
talking about standard market.
Standard market, yes. So there potentially are insurance companies out there that will insure you and your circumstances.
Right.
And so the worst thing you want to do, especially with your agent, like my mom used to tell me, you tell your lawyer and your insurance agent and your CPA everything. You tell them everything. You don't leave anything out. Those are the three people you tell everything to. But the last thing you want to do is, especially when it comes to life insurance, is to pull out a policy and make premiums for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50 years. Right. And somebody passes away and you file this claim, and they're going to go back. The insurance company is going to go back. They're going to look into, because at that point they are looking for any reason to deny the claim and not make that payout. And
also too, in the industry is there are those, unfortunately, who will take advantage of insurance carriers and put in falsified claims and do it intentionally. So there's two sides, right? There's the consumer like us, and then there's the insurance carrier. They're not necessarily wanting to make you, the insured, deny you coverage, right? But they also don't want to pay out, more than they should, right? Correct. So there's kind of a caveat. They have to protect their assets as well as the insured protecting their assets. So, I mean, that's something too, but yeah, it's kind of like I tell my business owners, if you add on to your building, if you are making improvements, you need to tell me how much money and what you're doing. Because if there was a fire that burnt down and you had to relocate temporarily to, continue business operations, and the carrier had to rebuild your space, and you put in, $500,000 of improvements, but you never reported that. That is money that you are now going to have to find again to rebuild that space to where it was before it built, but you didn't report it. So therefore the insurance carrier is, they haven't agreed to pay that for you.
Right.
So when you're upgrading, when there's something new going on, always talk to your broker or your agent to just say, hey, I'm doing this now. I had a client and they decided to go into a field where they were performing services, and they had a policy in place. And I looked over and did a review, and I said, you disclosed to me that you were performing A, B, and C services.
Yes.
But on your policy in fine print, there's exclusions for this. That means to you, if you perform these services and you have a claim, there's no coverage for it. If you can pay out of pocket and you want to do that, then that is on you. But I have to make sure that I educate you that there's no coverage for this. Now, if we want to take the time to go and remarket to a different carrier that will allow that, or go back to this carrier and say, hey, will you now allow these services? They might say yes, but now we have to have a premium to account for a potential payout for you. So that's important, to always educate your agent.
Yeah. So, that's actually a great point as well. I tell all of my clients, especially my estate planning clients, just like every year in January, every year you set your new year aspirations, right? That should be the first thing that you sit down and look at is, your household expenses, your household coverages, what you're doing in business, if your driving habits have changed, all of those things that are attached to insurance policies that you have. Every single year, did you sell a house? Did you buy another house? Did you co-sign on a car for your, a child, or did you help your children buy a home? Or, so every single year, we, as especially small business entrepreneurs, should absolutely be looking at these policies, reassessing what has changed, because 9.99% of the time, something has changed. And in order to, again, continue to build that generational wealth, and to continue to protect those assets, there's no better way than insurance coverage, right? I want to get into the 5 E's in insurance. And these are your top 5 tips, essentially, for our audience today when it comes to financial responsibility and dealing with insurance and all the things that you've talked about. So we've got the top 5. The first one, experience. The second one, educate, what we do here in the break room, right? 3, expectations. 4, ease of doing business. And 5, earning business. So kind of run through those for us in regards to how that is the foundation for you and your insurance business as a broker and an entrepreneur.
Well, so I've partnered up with Reinhold Anderson and insurance consultants. And so with that, I have a team of experienced, licensed agents as well. And so for the most part, we all have 30 plus years. And so what we do is we collaborate, we get together. You, Miss Camay, might bring your business to me and I'll review your insurance. And then I will strategize and brainstorm aloud with my group. Somebody might be a little bit more specialized in, whatever the case may be, agriculture, farming, yachts or aircrafts, construction. And we will all brainstorm and say, okay, have you checked about this? Have you addressed this? What is the client doing with this? And it's just more eyes that are overlooking to make sure that we are overlooking everything and every possible potential risk that they could come in contact with. We go back to the client and we say, hey, you know what? We have not just the experience of myself, 30 years in the insurance industry, but I have a team that is here dedicated to make sure that we are adequately protecting all your assets. It can be as simple as saying, how is this insured? What is your name of your company? My name of my company is Miss Camay International Inc. Okay. Is there any, who are the owners? Myself. Okay. Is this also tied to any kind of trust? We need to tie in the names and the ownership to properly protect somebody's assets. So they align with the documents that you're preparing to make sure that in a case that somebody perishes or passes down or sells, that it is not going to be difficult for the next generation to come in and take on leadership, right?
Right.
So the experience level is we will look at seeing somebody's policy and saying, oh my gosh, there are all these gaps that our client has that they're doing. And we go back to the client and they many times are clueless. They said, oh, well, I've been insured with my agent for 30 years. And I'm fully covered. I'm like, well, I'm not saying that your agent isn't educating you. However, you might have outgrown your policy. So what that means is that carrier might not offer the broader coverage that you need. And the independent advisor, I can go to different markets, not just one or two, and say, okay, we're going to address these needs now and these needs. So it's the experience of my team, myself, and knowing the industry. So we will rely on underwriting. We will rely on service. We will rely on the claims aspect from carriers to give us the information that we need to properly protect someone's assets. So that's where the education part comes into. We're not apples to apples. Give me what you have, and then I match that. It's more than that. I'm here to make sure that there's no stone pretty much unturned. And then the expectations. It's good to set the expectations that this is what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and then you can choose if you want these coverages, but you have to know that I can be also brought into a lawsuit if I don't educate you on this.
Right.
And I have a business I need to protect as well. So as long as I'm doing what I need to do to educate you properly, to identify the gaps, to find resolutions, a lot of times it might be as easy as a paper endorsement, or I go back to the carrier and say, we need to add this because they're doing this now. And they might say, okay, it might cost nothing, or it might cost, $13 extra or $65 extra, but it's something that needs to be addressed. And that's the expectation. I need to make sure, hey, if you want me to look at your insurance, I need to be transparent, and you need to be transparent in letting me know how your operations really, what's entailed. And so the ease of doing business isn't to try to make my client go through these hoops, but it's looking at the whole portfolio to make sure everything is aligned, and then your documents come in to adequately protect that on a legal note as well. And then earning your business. It's about networking. I might be saving you, $1,000, but I might also say, hey, the policy that you have right now, it's not worth moving. You've been there longevity. So let's wait until next renewal if things adjust. Or I might say, just because I might not be able to help you right now, doesn't mean I can't help your neighbor or your friend.
Right.
So it's using
or
your
children
and asking for referrals and going that way. So those are kind of 5 E's of insurance.
Well, and who would not want an insurance broker that's a cheerleader? Like, I don't know.
Well, I'm a cheerleader for my clients who come to me. I'm here to take those helpful tips. If I can't help somebody financially, I'm still going to help them with the tips and suggestions to give that back to them to help better their policy wherever they are. Of course, I want to earn that business. I want to earn referrals. That's how I operate, and that's my networking. But it's important to me that somebody knows how their insurance works and why it's important to use somebody like you, Miss Camay, to streamline all of their proper documents to pass on that generational wealth.
Yeah. Great way to end the interview. Great topic to end the interview. We're going to take a quick commercial break right now. And when we come back, Toni, I want to share with our audience where they can find you, how they can connect with you, and anyone who's interested in a no obligation quote, essentially, or assessment of their current portfolio, how they can connect with you to get that. So we'll be right back right after this commercial break.
Did you know that 46% of mobile shoppers are likely to buy a product or service from a verbal ad when it's relevant to the content that they're viewing? It's responsible for capturing attention, creating interest, and persuading your target audience.
You know, it's about every woman having their unique experience. When you're on that vibroacoustic sound equipment, women go into their own world.
Let the Boss Ladies Break Room put your company in the spotlight. Visit my website at misscamayinternational.com, click the Contact tab, and fill out the form listing sponsor ad spot in the subject line. And let us create a sponsor ad for you, your company, or service or product that you sell, which will be featured in our series. Partner with us for a greater reach to those who need you.
Welcome back to the break room, you guys. We've had a great interview today with the fabulous boss lady, Toni Rayborn. She has shared amazing tips and tricks with you regarding insurance and how to make sure that you are covered. So tell us, Toni, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you if they want to, get a quote from you, if they've got a current insurance portfolio where they, feel like they're pretty well insured, but just maybe want to, kind of do that house cleaning, annual consideration. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, there are a few places. I'm on LinkedIn. So that's probably, I would say you can reach me there. I've got my mobile number and my email address linked on that, linkedin.com, Toni Rayborn. And then usually what we'll do is I will gather your basic information, such as a declaration page, which shows the named insured, all your limits that you have, and your policies that you have. I look at that with my team. We review everything, and then we communicate back and forth through the firm that I partner with, Brian Hold and Anderson Insurance Consultants. And we present you what we have found. We present to you resolutions and suggestions and tips. And hopefully we can earn your business and have you welcome aboard. But LinkedIn, and then Toni at T Rayborn RMS for Rayborn Risk Management Solutions.com is where you can reach me.
Well, thank you so much, my favorite cheerleader, for joining me in the break room today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I value and appreciate your education, your expertise, and your knowledge regarding insurance and how it can help protect people's lives and people's assets, which we always want to protect with trust documents. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Be sure to visit my YouTube channel, Miss Camay International. The Boss Ladies Break Room Financial Literacy Series premieres the first Wednesday of every month on my YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and share this video, share this interview with your family, your friends, your loved ones who need this message. We can never, ever, ever, we can never have enough insurance. Thank you so much, Toni, for joining me. Have a great day, you guys.
Thank you for educating me on all of the proper documentations that I need to protect my assets for my business.
Yes, absolutely. You need them. Everybody needs them. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you guys next month.
Thanks for joining me in the Boss Ladies Break Room for the Financial Literacy Series. Remember, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Miss Camay International and join me the first Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m. right here in the Break Room.